Parker? Okay.
Before we purchased our house in Bloomingdale, I was living in a small condo with my husband, and it was very small and it was far away from both of our jobs. So we wanted to find a house that was closer to our jobs. The first impression I got was that it was very eerie. They had bushes that were overgrown in the front. The house needed a lot of work. I saw crumbling masonry work in the front and the back. The roof was old, the siding was old. We walked into the inside, and it was just the eeriest house I think I've ever seen, but I liked it. We did close on the house in December 1997, and I couldn't wait to get started on it because the inside was so dreary. Just being in that house, there was just something different. I couldn't put my finger on it yet. Of course, there was a lot of noises, banging, dragging. I just chalked it up. It's an old house. There are going to be noises. I'm very skeptical with saying this noise doesn't make sense. Very shortly after we moved in, I just started getting a very strange feeling that something wasn't right. Every night I would go to sleep and I would have this nightmare. I was in the house alone and I had a very horrible feeling about it. I'd be at the top of the stairwell, and I knew something very ominous was at the bottom. And I would look at a shelf and something would fly off. And I would see a shadow at the bottom of the stairs. It would start to move up, and I'd hear breathing. You just felt as if you were going to be killed, attacked, something. And then that's when I would always wake up. And it turned out I had that nightmare every night for months. I had told my husband, I don't even want to go to sleep because I know I'm going to have that dream.
Patty had always been skeptical of the paranormal, but events in the house were beginning to convince her otherwise.
I went down to do laundry, and we have the biggest container of laundry detergent. And I did the laundry, put it back on the shelf. The detergent went back up in the kitchen, and when it was done, the laundry detergent wasn't on the shelf. I looked, and it was sitting 10 feet out into the basement, upright. I just tried to ignore it, picked it up, did the second load, put it back on the shelf. When I came down a third time, it was right back out in the basement again. That's probably the first time when I thought, it's almost like a mischievous child playing tricks on me. There was something about that house, and I had even said to my husband one day, you're going to think I'm crazy. I think this house is alive. There's something about this house. I don't know what it is, but there is. He just was of the opinion, if you ignore it, it will go away. He believed my dreams were caused from anxiety, moving into a new house. He just didn't buy into it and kind of turned a blind eye.
I find that skeptics will gravitate to rationality before anything else. In their mind, they have convinced themselves that it can't be anything other than something rational. So they will take it that, oh, it must have been this, or they'll find any reason they can to prove that it's not paranormal.
A few days later, I'm cleaning the house. We have French doors on our upper level going to the deck. And I see little handprints on the bottom of the window. And I told my husband about it. He goes, oh, you know, just forget about it. A couple days later, I saw them on again. My husband was home. I said, come here, I want you to tell me what you see. He looked and he goes, it looks like a child's handprint. One of the situations that scared me the most, and I knew I had to find out and get to the bottom of it, again, happened in my room.
Patty Haig started having terrifying dreams as soon as she moved into her new home. But the nightmares were turning into reality.
I dreamt of the child that I thought was in the house, and he bit me in the arm. And I woke up, I said, wow, that dream really hurt. And when I was in the shower the next day, I was bitten. Now, I couldn't fit that in my mouth to put that bite mark, and it was a small mouth. So that dream was a dream, but it wasn't a dream. I can't explain that.
It became more than a dream when old friends Roseanne and Joe came over to the house for a visit.
She was with a gentleman, and he was a big, burly, 6'3" contractor. Roseanne had mentioned the apparition, and Joe started making fun of it. I had asked him not to do that, and he continued to do that. The next thing we knew, and I saw it and Roseanne saw it, his stool was yanked out from under him. He landed on the ground. So of course we're like, Joe, are you okay? He got up and started crying. Started crying like a baby, and he said, Roseanne, we gotta go. We gotta go. Roseanne called me later and said, Joe said there's something evil in that house. When I fell on the floor, something whispered in my ear, you are going to die tonight. He goes, I'm never going back in that house again. And he never did. I just didn't know what to think. It can't be just my home. There's too much is happening. There's something happened around here, and I don't know what it was. I met my neighbor. She was walking her dog. I said, can I ask you a question? She goes, what? What? I said, do you have anything strange going on in your house that you can't explain? And she goes, what do you mean? I go, here we go. She's going to have me committed. And I just looked at her. I said, ghosts. Her jaw dropped. She goes, I can't believe you said that. She goes, ever since I moved in, she goes, things have been going on in the house that I can't explain. It turns out many people in that area were having experiences, but my house, everybody seemed to point to my house and said, but that's where it really gets very strange. I had to get to the bottom of this, how to find out, and I didn't even know really paranormal groups existed When I Googled hauntings in Bloomingdale, I saw Mark's website.
I first heard from Patty back in February of 2008, and she was looking for us to come in and perform a professional scientific investigation. Now, during this time, we were doing audio recording, trying to capture EVP, which stands for electronic voice phenomena. Also, during the investigation, we had a video camera with night vision set up in the master bedroom, pointed at her dresser where she felt like she had seen things before. Patty was sitting on the bed nearby with one of our other investigators.
And really, I was talking, but, you know, no one was getting anything. But I looked at the dresser, and I saw a white, almost like a mist or a shadow in front of the dresser. Look over there.
So the cameraman, the investigator, panned the camera around from the dresser to see if he could capture anything. When he panned the camera to the left,
evidence of the paranormal was becoming harder to ignore at Patty Haig's house. Now a guest had been threatened.
You are going to die tonight.
Wanting answers, Patty had called in a paranormal investigation team.
so the cameraman, the investigator, panned the camera around from the dresser to see if he could capture anything. When he panned the camera to the left, all of a sudden, he captured what looked like a head with no features. You cannot see a face or anything, but it looked like a head with a hairline.
And it had very dark hair, and you can't see features of a face. It's bizarre. You see the hair and it's sticking in.
And then after a second, it seems to realize it's being filmed, and it slides right out of the frame. We felt that it was the land that had the activity more than Patty's house alone. So we made arrangements to bring in a ground-penetrating radar team to scan that area to see what they could find. And the results were very interesting because the radar operator said he found 5 areas of interest, and looking at the imagery, you can see the white spots that they found, that it was in his opinion that they could have been human burials still underground. It was our impression that this could have been a Native American site with circles, possibly a medicine wheel or other types of ceremonial circle used in their religion. If it's possible that if it was used for ceremonial purposes with the spirits, that might account for some of the activity that we were encountering in the area.
Once Mark and his team came in and did their investigations, activity did pick up in the house significantly, where it almost appeared that now it was taking more of a malicious turn for me. You just felt like you were going to be attacked. You felt like you were going to be murdered. I was pushed down my oak stairwell. And I knew if I didn't leave that house, I wasn't going to survive in that house. It would have been a disaster for me to stay in that home. So when my husband got a new job down south, That was probably the happiest news I had in years. I didn't care if we had to live in a tent somewhere. I honestly didn't. I would have been happy living in a tent to get out of that house. The last day of the house, I stood outside the door, closed it, locked for the last time, and got in my car. I felt a lightness that I haven't felt in years. I felt like a new person, a happy person.
The house had finally convinced Patty that another plane existed, and it was too much for her to live with.
It was that location, it stayed at that location, and now I'm living in a place that is completely free of any kind of paranormal activity, and I would never go back, ever.